So the machine is, as you can see here now, is Gemini Incorporation, and in this machine we are told that the company website has an application that converts the profile of the user into an exportable PDF file. As you can see in many online sites, you can input your HTML web page or any other kind of format, and the application will convert this into a PDF format. In this machine here, we are told to exploit this functionality and gain root access. Okay. Now, of course, after scanning the machine, we have here the IP address, and we have here user directory test2. Upon clicking, we will see here it's a guest page, and we have login page here. Okay, so if you click on login, you have to enter the password and username, and if we go to login HP, okay, so here we have multiple choices in order to gain access. First thing first, using SQL injection is not possible here, because if I click on view page source and you will see here that there is a token file or token that is generated every time the login form is called or summoned. So with the presence of the token file, it's not possible to use the SQL injection technique. So basically, if I put some random, or if I have my burp suite on, and for example, random thing. So here you can see we have a token that is randomly generated and changes every time I load the page, and I have here the password and I have the username. Other forms of getting access other than SQL injection is the way I hate the most, which is burp suite. Okay, sorry, brute force. So basically, all we need to do is take this request to intruder, start attack, positions. Great. Now the thing or the parameters that we need to change or to mark for injection are the name here, okay, and the password. Basically, I will clear the token file, and the token file changes every time I request. So clear here. So here I have the password and the name. I will clear the SSID, the cookie, clear, and I proceed to position, to payloads. Here you will select your username and password. Basically, I will not run this brute force as I have done this previously, so I will show you the oops. Okay, so here if I close this, and the word list that you need to use is rock.txt. You can use f society.list, and it's written like this. It's not society. It's not spelled society in the correct way. It's like this, f so city, and you can use basically, and you can use secure list master word list. Okay, you have those three options in order to use for your brute force, and the result is the credential or the username is admin, and the password is, don't be surprised, 1234. So if I go to my, and let's, so admin 1234, and we have access right now. So coming to the most important part of this challenge, and the purpose of the challenge is to explore and find ways to exploit the export profile as a PDF functionality. So I go to my profile, and here edit profile and export profile. If I click on export profile, I will see PDF format of my profile. Okay, so we need to find a way to exploit this functionality to our advantage. So if I go to my profile and then edit, okay, so let me remove this, forget about it, and select name, save. Okay, now before showing you the way that you need to follow, I have written an article here in Pentesting Security Training Share website, and here it talks about a vulnerability that has been disclosed on 2017 for November last year. It's basically closed, and this vulnerability is about export injection, new server-side vulnerability. So here, after reading and reading and reading the basic way this exploit works, we have here that we need to inject an iframe, or sorry, this is the mechanism of the functionality of the export PDF. So basically input your information, okay, the server receives those information, converts them, or downloads the whole HTML format, okay, without any kind of filtering, without any kind of encoding, and then it converts this HTML into PDF and then sends the request back to the user. So the main vulnerability here is that the server does not encode or filter the HTML template that it downloads every time the user requests a PDF format of his information. So the attack vector is here. So it says that if we inject an iframe, okay, we can download any file we need from the server. Okay, so here it says that if you type file, C Windows, and Windows depending on the system that you are targeting, it would give information about the host file or the content of the host file. Okay, so if you go here and instead of name, okay, let's, okay, to show you the whole idea. This is iframe. Okay, now so here is the iframe. Basically, instead of source, HTTP, file, home, etc., we should write, for example, you might see that we should write, so here if we go back to our file, we should type the file that we need to download. So for example here, file etc, okay, but this way did not work on this machine. So basically I said, why not to make an index.php file in my machine that will call or get the file from the vulnerable machine here. Okay, so if I go here to my index.php file, well, so here I have an index.php file that when it's called, it will specify the file parameter, okay, and it will get the file name that is taken by the user or from the user. So here I said why not to pull the file index.php from my machine on this IP address, okay, on this port, and here we retrieve the content of the private key of the user Gemini, okay. So if I take this, paste, save, go to my profile, and then here once I click export profile, it will take the whole HTML of my admin profile, including the iframe that I injected, okay, and it will it converts this into PDF. So it will parse everything that written in the admin or in the profile. That's the weakness basically. So export profile. So I should see now the private key, and I have nothing here. So I need to make sure that my machine runs the port or listens on the port 777. So let's I think that in order for the server to retrieve the index.php file from my machine, I need to run this as a web server, right? So I need to copy this, or let's not copy this. If I go to my so if I remove index.html and then copy the file that I made to, now I have the index.php file running or stored on the HTML here on my www folder. Now let's run my Apache server. Great. So here let's remove this thing and take this iframe, actions, edit, save. Now go to my profile. Now I should see the private key. Okay, as you can see now, due to the export injection vulnerability, I was able to retrieve the content of the private key, SSH private key. Okay, so that's what you need basically in order to log in to the SSH server. Basically, you can retrieve any file you want from the machine. So basically you can tailor this command to your need. For example, suppose that we need to retrieve the content of passwords file, save, then go back, edit, save. Now my profile, export. Now I should see the password file retrieved from the vulnerable machine. Okay, that's good. So you see here that we have the user Gemini 1, Gemini 1. So I will close the browser here. We don't need this anymore. Great. Now SSH. I have the private key saved in my desktop. So SSH I specifying the private key. Now we have SSH access into the machine. We are Gemini 1. So let's list the current content. So .ssh has the private key that we just exported. Cd home. Okay, since there is no such meaningful thing here, I think we need to think of privilege escalation. So let's see what are the files or the directories, executables, etc. that have the current or the set UID. So find well, so here we have those files or that runs as a set UID. So basically we have here the list info user pin. So let's run this or see the user bin grep list info. So this file runs as root and we can execute the file as the current user. That's great. So the thing that we need to do is to see what things the file do. So user bin. So here we have, it displays network information here about the vulnerable machine, and here we see it's kind of showing network information, and last here we can see that it displays the current date. So if we type which date, so date is an application that runs under the bin directory. Okay, so if we see environment variable, here we have, so it runs from here, user bin, no, from here. Okay, so in privilege escalation, whenever you have a file that runs as root, and if you can see what are the functionalities and the processes that the file is doing, and you grab something meaningful, you can let the file or create something that mimics the functionality that the file is doing and let your target file run as root. So if you go to temp, so I have created, I will show you the file that I created here. So nano. So basically here in this file or in this C file, I have set the UID to be 0 and the GID to be 0, the effective ID and the real ID to be 0. Why? Because I want list information file that we have just seen to run as root, or to run my file, this file as root. So basically, and to summon bin bash. Okay, but the main idea is I need to let my C file have the name date, so that when the list info file runs the date, okay, it runs my C file and not the regular date application on the Linux file system. How can we do this? Is first let's combine or compile the file, then date, So I have now my file, which is date. Okay, now I need list information file or the list info file to run my version of the date. Okay, not the regular version in the Linux. So the thing that we need to do is to export, or first to see which date. So I have date regular application runs under bin. So to run my version here, which will run the shell or root shell, I need to export the path. The current path is temp, and then we need to append the rest of the path. So temp or grep. So here we have the temp directory has been appended to the very first of the path environment variables here. So the last thing that we need to do is to run user info file or list info file, user bin list. Now when this file runs, once this file runs, it will run the or displays the network information that we saw, and then it will run the date application. But this time it will run the date application, okay? It will run my date application, not the regular date application that is stored in the bin date. Why? Because I exported the environment variable here to run my file first, okay? So enter. Now we have root ID. Okay, so let's go to see what are the files under root directory. Flag. And that's it. Basically, this challenge is very different. It's not different, but I mean, it's kind of a cool challenge. Okay, it's not that challenge that depends on your guessing power or your ability to do fun things. It's kind of regular challenge. It introduces the practicer into the export injection vulnerability that I haven't seen before, basically, to be honest. And This channel introduced me to this vulnerability. That's very cool. Export profile.